Hello everyone. Thank you for coming back to my channel. This is going to be Get a Life number 4. And in Get a Life number 4, I'm going to talk about NATO. And the reason I'm talking about NATO, as I told you before, is to give some competition to the United Nations about stepping up and doing the job that the United Nations should be doing to unite all the nations of the world. And by uniting the nations, that means put an end to the murder and mayhem years that have been going on for the last 2,500 years at least. So what we want to do now is to create an organization in the world so that all of fighting between different nations end. Now, one of the basic things that we have to do, and all of the things that I'm talking about, are not coming from just my ideas. What I'm trying to do is look at history, draw conclusions from what history has taught us about how certain actions produce certain results. And those actions are, we want to have Homo sapiens ending the attitude that they have a right to kill another Homo sapien. We do not have to have people going out and murdering other human beings. And by murdering means that you are killing someone that is not in the process of trying to kill you or people in your immediate vicinity. Now, what we want to do is to make sure that no Homo sapien, no individual, no human being on the face of the earth has the attitude that he has a right to kill another human being. And that means that in doing so, that individual is a murderer. And we do not want murderers on the planet. One of the problems that we have to understand is that murderers come under the same attitude as a plague or a virus or any kind of a natural phenomenon that destroys human lives. Some kind of poison or infection that humans can develop that will kill them. When we have a murderer, that murderer will continue murdering people until he is stopped. And that's why we want to end all murdering. I'm going to be using the experiences that I've drawn from history and draw on those to try to prove my point as to why we need to move forward with competition to end the killing that's going on in the world. Nature and wild animals and different solutions, natural disasters kill enough human beings each year. We don't need to add to that by one Homo sapien killing another one to increase the amount that are being destroyed by other things that we cannot control or we have trouble controlling. We need to use all of our information to end this attitude that we're going to kill each other. I have used the different arguments against the United Nations, and I have now looked a little bit into NATO. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was formed as a backup to the problem that I expressed before about the United Nations having an impossible problem. Possible problem was the USSR. And as I said before, they are the worst organization as far as killing innocent human beings as anyone has done in our lifetime. And so by being the number one destructive planet on the universe, we want to make sure that we terminate that. Now, the end of the Soviet Union did happen, but we have a carryover from that called Putin. And Putin has picked up some of the attitudes by having people killed or encouraging people to assassinate people that would be critics of Putin. Now, there are several names. A lot of these names are foreign names, and I'm not good at pronouncing them, but I will put them up so that you can read. These are different names of people that have been killed, assassinated, or their life has been shortened by human beings engaging in activities that terminate other human beings' lives. And we want to put an end to that. What I have concluded in the past is the largest, most successful organization on the planet have been the Philistines. And the reason the Philistines were so successful, there was one difference with them with every other nation, and that is the women were absolutely equal. And so what we want to do now is continue to promote equality of women. Another major issue is the distinction between religion and politics. In a religious situation I've had before, every human being is entitled to think anything they want to think. They're encouraged to do so because that kind of thinking and that kind of explanation, or in our ability to think about religion or our thought process, we can reflect on just about anything that can be conceived by the Homo sapien mind. But it's that reflection that allows us to be creators. So our religion is the main thing that helps us to learn to be a creator. And so we want to encourage every human being to have what I refer to as his religion, which is his thinking about what's true about what his opinion is. Everything he thinks is an individual's opinion, and that all has to do with spiritual things. And by spiritual means, some of them will be true and some of them will not be true. But we want to be able to think about anything we want to think about. Besides that, we have another topic that we have to know about in order to get along with each other, and that is government. We have to have a social understanding of what governments can and cannot do. And government is the way one Homo sapien treats another Homo sapien. And one thing that's true about government is that it is not speculation, it is not reflection or anything to do with spiritual things. Things that are religious are totally separated from the idea of government and political ideas. Now, political ideas are the one way that one Homo sapien can treat another Homo sapien. And the defect attitude that every human being has to have to get along with every other human being is, I will not do anything that I don't want someone else to do to me. Because it is that defect in thinking that allows people to have a horsepower engine that I use the terminology has run amok. In other words, it is shorted out, something is wrong with it, it's a defective thinking, what we would refer to as the political arena And that is where one human being thinks that if it doesn't agree with me, kill it. That has to be eliminated exactly the same way that a plague or a virus or any other infection happens, because every single government that has adopted that attitude has never had an end to it. They continue destroying every other human being that does not agree with them. That cannot happen. That has to be exterminated, as bad as any disease, as any plague, anything else. So, when we have someone that has murdered another human being, whether in the name of government or his own desires, shows that he is transgressed what human beings are not allowed to do. They have now relegated themselves to no more than an animal. And as an animal, they have to be caged or killed. As I had said before, we do have 4 problems in the world today. We have North Korea, we have China, we have Russia, and we have Iran. And those are totalitarian situations. We need to get rid of each and every leader doing that, because that leader will just continue destroying until he is caged or killed. So we want to make it clear that each of those people are being terminated. Now, another problem we have is America is the closest thing that we have, as far as I can see, having equality among women, although they are not equal. But recently, Israel has moved up to run competition with the United States of America. And I'm not so sure that the women in Israel are not more free than the women in America. But what we want to do is get back to what the Philistines had, where women have absolute equality. And when I talk about women, I talk about the major thing that proves they're absolutely equal, and that's when they can allow men to use their body and get paid for it. When that happens, we know they are equal in the society. Until that happens, they are not equal in the society. When women need to protest and function in demonstrations for equality, they have been eradicated in many times with the women and their supporters in Iran. Now, the problem with Iran is a religious leader is pretending to be a political person. He has to be removed. No exceptions. You're either political or you are religious. You cannot be both. So when you have a religious attitude that tells you my religion is right, is the same thing as a run-amok horsepower engine. You need to be caged or killed, because you are out killing men and women that disagree with you. And as far as a political entity is concerned, that cannot exist. In a political arena, you have to have competition at all times, and a defective horsepower engine in every single case. There are no exceptions. So you need to get out of office. Now, what the women should do is make it very plain. In the world today, we have 3.5 billion people, and we have more women than men. So that means there are 2 billion women on the face of the earth. And that means that one of those women, when you have a totalitarian leader, he needs to be gotten rid of. He's out killing people. He has no right to murder. And we need to end the murdering. They have become a murderer. They need to be killed. Because in a political arena, you don't do anything to anyone that you don't want them to do to you. So if you as a political leader have murdered one person, you're telling the world you want to be murdered. Otherwise, the rule is you can't do it to anyone else. So that means every woman on the face of the planet should figure out a way to get rid of you. There aren't only what you would refer to as poisonous snakes and poisonous spiders, but there are several. The brown recluse spider, the hobo spider, and the black widow spider have killed many human beings. And if a woman puts one of those in bed with you, you get what you deserve. And she's not accused of murder, because what she's doing, she is doing a favor to humanity by killing a murderer. Once you have murdered someone, you're inviting someone to, as Israel puts, neutralize that person. Then I love that. That's a good terminology. The woman has not murdered anyone. All she has done is neutralized you. You are a Homo sapien that has murdered another human being, and now you have been neutralized. When one or two of these tyrants have been neutralized, the rest of the tyrants that are in position will realize if they start murdering people, they themselves are liable to be neutralized by one of the 2 billion women that make up the civilization of the world community. And the women should start thinking about it. Not every woman would be inclined to do it, but we did have a woman that had her relatives murdered by Muhammad, poisoned him. 3 years later, he died. It may have been partly due to the poison. It may have had nothing to do with it. But she did what she could to neutralize that individual, and she did exactly what was right, not what was wrong. So we need to put that into the thinking of the women throughout the world. When you become a neutralizer, you are not a murderer. You have done nothing illegal. You have done nothing wrong. And you can even pray to your God that He will forgive you of what you are doing. Because what you are doing is you are taking and neutralizing one individual. And our history has shown us if that effective, that run amok horsepower engine is able to do what he wants to do, at least 1,000 people will die before his life runs out. So that means by neutralizing one individual, you have saved 1,000 innocent lives. And that is what is going to make you right in God's eyes, because God knows that is a truth. And the truth is, you have done humanity a favor by neutralizing a tyrant. And you have to be concerned about tyrants because they won't quit until they are stopped. Putin has to be terminated. He has to be neutralized, and it's one of you women's responsibility that if you can do it and neutralize him without endangering yourself, you have a responsibility to do it. And so I encourage you to do the job you need to do. And if women step up and start taking responsibility to doing some of the things they need, they will get equality. I will look forward to the day that I can be in a society where the women are absolutely equal in that society. And I look forward to that happening in my lifetime. I don't know that it will. I hope that it does. And I want to do everything I can to support the movement so that will happen. I've already done some investigating on NATO, and I found out that NATO has already challenged Putin for the time he moved into the Ukraine the first time. They know that it's wrong. We need to start backing NATO. NATO needs to do what it needs to stop all tyrants. We need to have a world where every issue among human beings are not involving war. They're involving negotiation. Life number 4, we want to encourage NATO is help adopt artificial intelligence, because when a nation disagrees with other nations, we have to know if it's for their self-interest. The more women that are exposing the criminals, the fewer criminals we'll have at large, because he's been caught and neutralized. You wouldn't have to necessarily kill him to neutralize him. If you cage him, that will also neutralize him. So we need to make sure we cage or kill 100% of the murderers that create the act of murder on the face of the planet. And now for this time, I think my 20 minutes is probably up. So I'm going to terminate Get a Life number 4. And if you believe anything that I've said or want to support what I'm talking about, tell your friends about it. I would appreciate it. I hope for you to come back and listen to Get a Life number 5. But I hope that you'll spread the word, you will subscribe to my channel, and you will support me so I can continue these. And for that, I'm going to say goodbye. I thank you for coming, and I'll see you the next time around. Goodbye for now.